Crew, welcome back into the Agency Therapy Podcast. We've been ripping this today. This is our third podcast of the day, and we started off the new year with a bang. And our third guest of the year, Mr. Nick Shackelford. What's up, bro?
What's up, dude? I'm not. You know, I'm actually happier to be here than I would have been back in California because it's on fire.
It is literally on fire right now.
I mean, it's about to snow here, or like it's really close to snowing.
Yeah,
here?
I think it's gonna snow. Yeah, which is crazy. It doesn't snow in Nashville hardly ever.
I know,
But
which is wild.
I will take snow over wildfires.
Any day of the week.
Any day of the week.
So it's actually like I'm laughing about it to hide just like the sadness behind me, obviously. But it's every year around this time, it's like a very weird. There's a thing called like Santa Ana winds, and it just like comes in. And I live in Santa Ana and Orange, and a lot of the things that's going on right now is like there's just gnarly wildfires, and it's just like ripping through. So I was like up all night, just like sitting on my phone, and was like, dude, it puts an immense amount of gratitude into you, and it also puts immense amount of like, why am I there? Like, why? We know this is going to happen every single year.
Yeah.
What are we doing about it? And I just reading the post and seeing everything going on. And so it's tough. Like I think it kind of puts a lot of things into perspective. Like my wife texted me, she's like, hey, our fence blew down. And my attitude wasn't like, oh my God. It was like, well, we didn't lose our house to fire. Awesome. Yeah. Like let's wait for insurance to help us out.
For sure. Yeah.
So it's been gnarly, but the reasons why we're here is pretty nice. Like, I get to see your new space, which is beautiful.
Let's go.
Very nice. And then I get to be able to see it's like the only event at the beginning of the year where you can kind of see like what's going on in the agency space, like see how everyone's feeling, how did their energy finish from last year. So I'm excited.
Yep. Yeah. So Shaq is here for Agency Founders. He's speaking this year, and there's some really awesome people in town, hence why we've been doing so many podcasts over the last couple hours. But we're kind of kicking off in the new year. We want to talk agency space. We are going to bring back agency algorithm at some point in time this year. But it's going to be more virtual on that side. Maybe we'll do some in-persons. We'll figure it out. But Shaq and I just wanted to kind of jam on, what we're looking forward to this year, kind of how we capped off 2024, and what we're kind of looking forward to in this upcoming year. So I know for you, Brez was like, it was the big thing.
Oh my God.
It was a monstrous year for you guys. And it was like, it felt like it came out of nowhere. Like you guys were like, yeah, like we're launching this drink brand. Cause I remember we're sitting, we do this cruise together in Europe.
For Aaron's birthday.
And he has like this vial of liquid.
It's a brown
little vial. And it's got the Brez serum in it. And he's mixing it in with like seltzer water and making like his own makeshift Brez. Now, I will tell you the flavor of the makeshift Brez.
A little different
than the actual Brez. The actual Brez is a lot better. But I remember like this was a concept. This was in its infancy. You guys, your cans were literally wrapped in like tissue paper.
Yeah, it was like weird stickers.
But now it's like evolved into this like very legitimate brand. Like the packaging, the everything about it seems like it's just 10x. And it's like all of a sudden we see you guys posting on LinkedIn, like, oh yeah, we did like $1 million this month. Oh yeah, we did like $2 million this month. And I'm like, what in the world? Where did you guys end for 2025?
We ended
24.
We ended at 28 million. Just stupid to even say this. I gotta go back. I'm gonna rewind you after I tell you this. 28 million. We hit with like $3.5 million December month. We're not even like a Q4 product.
Yeah,
we are and aren't. We are because it's holiday time. There's gatherings. Any event that you can assume alcohol or a substance is being drank at or consumed at, our product should be there.
Sure.
That's basically our ethos. Is like anytime you're trying to have a good time or an experience, you should have our product. And so it's crazy because you and Aaron are both friends as well. Aaron is a partner of mine. We were a partner in Lucid, which is, it's fun because agency is the reason why this existed.
Yeah.
So Aaron has always been this like entrepreneurial. He really cares about the hemp and wellness space. He really cares about the non-alcoholic space. Alcohol in my life has done things that I've been, so let's put it this way. I haven't had an ounce or a lick of alcohol since I was a junior in high school. I'm 33 years old. And I have personal, really, really close friends, my own family, like what alcohol does when you aren't able to control it is destruction for yourself, for your family, for the world. So I think the reason and mission behind it is like there's a purpose as to why it's working. I think that's also like a kind of like a very big pull marketing. Like if you're pushing something up the hill, it's very difficult. But when it's being pulled by the cultural shift,
well, there's also been just tons and tons of like new studies coming out about
the one just happened.
The
General
detriments
Central just said this.
Yeah, detriments of alcohol and what it actually does to your body and like all of the horrible side effects that it actually has. So it's like it's entering right place, right time, right product, and it's just been cataclysmic over the past 6 months.
So let's put it this way. We weren't first, but we are officially the first. We are officially the best.
Yeah.
So that's just like we were not first to space.
You guys were playing with cheat codes. I mean, you guys run your own e-com agencies. Aaron runs an e-com agency that's specified in THC. So it's like that itself is like he knows all the regulations. You guys have, essentially special approval,
correct,
if you would call it that, through Meta. So it's like you guys can skip a lot of the headaches and learning curves that it would take with another brand. So it's like it just made total sense for you guys to launch this. And I remember, Aaron talking to me on that cruise ship, like, we think that we can exit this thing for something insane, like hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's like, in your first full year, $28 million.
I think this exactly. So we launched on 4/20/23, and then our first full year was like 4/20/24, and it's like within that period, it was crazy hockey stick growth. I think I just posted a recap video of like we did 18 million cans or something egregious. But I'll pull it back to like one real thing is we've been in the agency space for so long. We knew traffic, we knew retention, we knew the people to help us with content. We already had the players in the space. I think this is the valuable thing that a lot of the early agency people, or even just people that have been in the game for a long time on the agency side or traffic side, is like when you're doing contextual shifting so frequently, you don't know how dangerous you are when you stick with one thing for a while. And I think that thing that we're learning,
Mr. I won't do one thing. I gotta have my hands in a bunch of things.
It's true, dude. It's true. Like I sit here, like I'll probably talk about this weekend. Is like I was telling Eddie, is like we force ourselves. We basically are self-inducing ADD and ADHD into our system and operate as the highest level. If you're working with high-end brands, right? If you're working with high-quality brands, the depth that we can go is deep and quick, and you get back out. So it's hard to kind of sustain that over time to stay deep, but the ability to get there deep and quick is really, really nice. And that's a skill that we have. So for instance, I run all the retention, customer support, that's subscription, that's customer service, that's email. I don't have to actually do it because I already know how to run those teams because I've been looking at those teams.
Yeah, of course.
Aaron has the ability now because he knows this space to go, that seems off. What's wrong over there? He doesn't know if anything's wrong over there, but he feels wrong, and he'd be able to kind of call like that's something different. Like go sniff that out. Like what's happening there? I think that's the skill that we have as like agency founders because we get a look into so many of these damn businesses, whether it's e-com or it's just info or whatever it is, and you get an idea of going, I don't know what's wrong, but I have a feeling something's off. I think that's the skill that we kind of forget that we have at all times is like the ability to do the smoke test.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like we've been smoke testing our own business, over the past 6 months. And it's like, we know something is not necessarily right or scalable with our current model. And so like, we're paying attention to, something new that we're wanting to launch. And we're not 100% set on the new thing that Hydra will eventually become, but we know that there's shifts coming, just because what we're doing is like personally not fulfilling. And we know we want to make pivots into something that's a little bit more sustainable. We can be less hands-on in the process. Like we've, essentially worked ourselves into a job. Right. It's like, that's what we're trying to like remove ourselves from. Cause like we can definitely create something new. And once again, like we're not 100% sure what it's going to be, but there's going to be some shifts. And I think, that's the key for us in 2025 is like, hey, we're gonna make some big pivots, try some new things. Even if it means taking like, hey, we're gonna take a step back this year to go 2 step forwards in, the second half of the year. Like, I think that's what's gonna happen a lot.
Let me call you out on that is because, or let me speak to that because that's what my year was. Like on the agency side with Structure and Constant, they were step backs to accelerate forward. Like we purposely did very conscious buyouts of partners or people that were not conducive for what the next chapter of Structure or Constant is going to be. We took and made less money because we had a reinforced team at mid-tier level, non-revenue driving roles. And I think that's a very grown up thing to do on an agency or a team that's been around for over 7+ years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you start getting this, like, oh, we hit $50,000, I think, and I talked about with Wiz of Ecom on this, and he was like, what are the different tiers that are important? Like you have $10,000 a month, you have $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month. Okay. The first $10,000 to $50,000, that's, in my honest opinion, that's your service and deal structure contemplation. Like you could charge and make that much money if you want to charge a little bit more, if you want to change your service a little bit, or you want to add something on. 100,000 is much different. That's an operational rotation that has to be different.
Yeah, you're moving a boat.
The same team could be executing 10 to 50,000. Small minor details. Maybe it's more high end media buyer. Maybe it's different designers. But when the fundamental jump from 10, 20, 50, 100 is way different. Way different.
Yeah.
And you see this with the people that you're talking to, dude.
Yeah.
The problems that you're solving at 10 to 20 is not.
Yeah, they're more offer positioning type problems. Like those problems are never like infrastructure type issues, systemization, or even like HR or financial. Like all of it always boils down to offer positioning, or is it saturated? Is it not saturated? Like those are the things we look at those like lower scopes, which we don't work with too many of those types of clients, because it's like most of those people are in like that box of freelancer trying to move into agency owner.
I agree.
And it's like, we were talking with Marius before he left, but we were like, dude, like you should really go work with someone or work for someone that's run an agency before you like decide to go like freelancer to full on agency owner. Like you got to get some reps in, and you have to like move up the ladder. Like you have to have some sort of management in order to like move into like your own agency or your own business. I think it's really hard to just like start it from scratch without any prior experience like management.
Well, because for two reasons. One, you don't even know if you want that.
Yeah.
And two, more money is not always like the right thing that you need to be understanding or chasing after. It's the one thing that people love to talk about. I have more money, but especially in the agency game, I think now like what 2024 taught me, like if I do any sort of like reflection back on this, there is such thing as the wrong money. Yep. There's such thing as the wrong partners, and there's definitely such thing as the wrong teammates. When we got really, really woke and we were willing to accept anybody because you need diversification, or you needed to make sure you were checking specific boxes because all the other agencies or companies around you were doing so, you let things go because of fear of what the fuck is going to happen, especially if we're a California-based company.
Yeah.
Okay. When you start realizing that, like, the only thing, and this is, I give a fuck ton of credit to Jake on this, the only thing that matters is if I can perform and derive results on a consistent basis that's predictable, or if not, communicative of what's going to happen next. Yeah. That is it. If you can perform and you know what this is, you're going to be employed. You're going to have a job anywhere you want to fucking go. But if you are a media buyer, or if you are an email execution, if you are a designer, if you are a CRO, and then all of a sudden you're like, now I got to build a management team, and then I got to build like pipeline, and then I got to build like, you might not want that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's easy. It's easier when you already know it and like you've experienced it firsthand, versus you starting from scratch and being like, okay, no, I need to do this stuff, but like how? Like once you have a lot of the how questions answered, then it's way easier to build that infrastructure, right? And it's like, that's how we got our start. Like we moved up in management at certain companies, and we started at essentially base level employees, and it's like we had to go figure these things out for other people's businesses with guidance from other people, and like utilizing other people's resources in order to figure those things out. And now it's like, cool, we can go do that ourselves. We feel confident that we can go do that ourselves. And the businesses that we have launched have been little different successes. We didn't do $28 million last year, but it's like, if you started a brand 8 years ago, it probably would look way different and probably would have grown a lot less fast. Like you've had 8-10 years in the trenches of building e-com brands. And it's like, cool, now we're going to start our own. And it's like, look at it, just rocket ship.
I think I think it is something to do with timing of everything. This product would not have existed from regulation standpoint, and just opportunity of people being open-minded on this, because it is a new industry.
It's wild. Like I'm still like, because THC is not legal in in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Here in Tennessee. But you can still ship here to Tennessee. Like how does that work?
Hemp laws. So state by state hemp laws. There's people that you see on the streets out here on Broadway selling hemp. They call it weed. It's the same thing. They can call it weed, but it's hemp derived THC. So it allows us. There was a farm bill that passed with Mitch McConnell early on that allows us to be able to sell across country or county lines, state lines. That is illegal because of the hemp specific laws. As long as it's 0.03% of weight, you can ship it. It is legal to do so. There's some states, like there's specific states where like, hey, your 2.5 milligram is not acceptable at that 7.5 ounce. And your 5 milligram is not acceptable at your 12 ounce. So we're in the process of potentially building a 3 milligram 12 ounce can to make sure that we're compliant in Connecticut or Massachusetts. Like there's some specific states that have some very weird things.
Interesting.
And this is just the name. This is just how it is. Like this is just the game that happened. But it's weird because and I'm learning this. I'm learning this because I have to learn this. You have these different teams on alcohol, like the OG alcohol guys, because alcohol runs America, runs most countries, but it definitely runs America. It runs deep in this state. And then you have the marijuana guys that are like, no, hemp is not part of this. So it's sort of like this triangle of people that are like okay with each other, but really don't like each other, but understand that we have to exist and coexist together because we're still pushing forward on like the same goal of good things at good experiences at favorable times.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it's very weird because each state has their own ability to mandate and regulate this. So we'll find out what happens. Trump is, whether you love him or hate him, he does have a favorable stance on Schedule 1 drugs. And I think he will, similar to what he did earlier on with us, he was the original person that allowed us to kind of start selling on this specific platform.
Yeah. That's so crazy. It's such a wild like innovation to the space. So dude, it's exciting to watch grow.
I think I was tweeting this yesterday, but I was like, I've been able to see SaaS, e-com, and then agency growth. And like when I've been able to see all three of them, I think I'd still probably choose an agency first out of all three of those. And for one, maybe because on SaaS, I don't know the technical standpoint of this, but I know how to sell it really, really well. Agency, I think the service of it at a fundamental level, if you have the right clients and you're able to like just keep it tight and nice and your quality of work is really, really high level, like you really shouldn't have any issues replacing any churn, especially if the delivery is nice.
Sure.
But depends how deep you want to be as the owner.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the hard part, which I mean, fortunately you've been able to replace yourself in a lot of those positions. Let's talk about 2025 for a second. What's kind of what are you most looking forward to in 25? You're doing a lot of stuff right now. There's a lot of stuff happening on like the influencer side for you as far as like your LinkedIn stuff. You've been pushing, the engagement pod for some time. We're even offering that to our clients now, which is fun. But it's like, there's a lot in the shack kitchen cooking right now.
The shack empire.
The shack empire.
I say it like that jokingly, but it's like not, because I'm investing, and I just saw it all leave my bank in December, so I have this pretty clear. I'm spending about $9,500 a month on a content support team for me. So I have 2 writers and 2 designers, 1 assistant that's just on content and scheduling and distribution of info.
Wow. I
am not doing any road shows or podcasts or conversations just yet. I have a good list of events that I'll probably be speaking at again this year, just because I just love the travel element of it. But there's this like, I've always been good at distribution of information, but the cleanliness or the quality of it has never been perfect. I've been great at writing, but you have to incorporate some of these videos, and you have to start incorporating a lot of images that are really highlighting the stuff that takes time to build, that I myself with my hands won't build, but I know what I want.
Yeah.
So that, like, my Mondays and Tuesdays are pretty focused on all my planning of what content needs to be made. And there's a reason why I'm explaining like this. All my content that's going to be made, and then the rest of the week is actually executing so that the next week could have more content to actually create. Because the biggest issue, and I think a lot of the CEOs and founders are just people that are in the mix of things. They're so busy at executing. They're tracking goals in their Asana and ClickUp and wherever the fuck they are.
Yep.
But if they were to pause a little bit and actually look at what they did that week, you have so much stuff that you should be sharing because you're working through so many thought processes or things that you're trying to solve for your existing business, that sharing that online is very valuable.
Yeah.
And I've been public for 10 years. I've been sharing what I've been doing for over 10 years before I got into any of these positions specifically. And I think that's been the biggest benefit of like what I've had in my life. So with that being said, like the LinkedIn engagement. So this started as like Chase was doing it here and there and he'd be talking about it, you know, made a Google Doc and then it started to work. Okay. Then I got into it and I was like, oh shit, this really is working. Like it's real engagement. It's real leads. It's on the platform that's one of the most cringe platform, but it has all of the core quality leads.
Yep.
And people always talk about like, oh, why would you spend any time on LinkedIn? I was like, because all your leads are there.
Yeah.
Like they literally are there. So you can build outbounding, inbounding, whatever. But one thing you have to have is you have to have fucking content produced on a daily basis.
Yep. Always.
Doesn't have to be beautiful, but it has to be consistent. So I would say at the core would be LinkedIn, because that's where a lot of my initial long-form strategy will work. And then it goes into Twitter. Twitter's a little bit more raw. And I will say that I've started sharing a lot more family stuff that I'm not stoked too much on this, because everyone says you don't want to show your baby as much. And as Kingsley's 8 months, it's been a hell of a year learning a lot of this stuff. But I am sharing a lot more dad work. I am sharing a lot more incorporation of business. And I'm finding that different people are reaching out at different times for it. So I will say that it's a little bit harder, and this might just be my ability to report on it, but it's harder to track the definitive ROI of consistent posting on every platform. But I know for a fact, everybody knows they're seeing my shit. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. It's all over the place. You, Chase, Aaron, like we see their stuff all the time. We
talked earlier with who was here just right before us?
Marius.
Marius. So we were talking about this app called App 11, right? This is the traffic source that our buddy Adam hits me up. Adam hits me up before Black Friday in a DM on Meta. Haven't talked to Adam in forever. He goes, hey, you should start spending on App 11. I was like, what is App 11? And he's like, oh, it's all those ads that are in between apps.
Like gaming apps and things like that.
You playing Clash of Clans, just like, I want more credits. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
So I was like, sure, sounds good. Like, give me an intro. He gives me this intro. I talked to a guy named Alex. Alex works at App 11. He's like, what are you spending a day? I was like, we're spending like $25,000 a day on Meta. He's like, cool, you're qualified. We'll accept it. If I didn't get this introduction in Q4 before Black Friday, we would have never hit any of the goals that we wanted to hit, because Meta did not give me the distribution I could have gotten. So this is just a guy that I haven't talked to in forever, sends me this. I give it to Brandon Fink. Fink and David run it,
Savage,
get into
by
it.
The way. Brandon's
absolute G's on this.
Yeah. These are the type of guys that I was like, dude, like what? Like you should make more content, man. I'm like, you're such a smart dude. Sidetrack.
He's too busy on making multiple kids. He's
got like
he's trying 12. To have 19 kids. He's trying to start a basketball league, dude. He's like, I'm about a Cybertruck. I was like, didn't you have a couple trucks? He's like, yeah, but I got a lot of kids. I was like, okay, my guy, whatever. Talk about someone who's got a lot of shit going on, like this motherfucker.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're sitting there going like, where did this come from? But I think there's opportunities like that I'm like really, really uniquely good at. Is sometime, we don't know when, but that introduction is going to come and I'm going to be in the right place at the right time, and we're going to make a bunch of money on this. Yeah. So I think as long as I can keep my head up, and that you have to be producing content to get those hits and at-bats. Yeah. So LinkedIn's number one. Number two, it's going to have to be Brez because of the opportunity there. I will tell you though, my team is almost dialed in to where depth of the day-to-day might not have to be what it is right now. Because I would say it's 80+% is my time.
Really?
Whereas I think where my time should actually kind of rotate back into is constant and structured. I think that time, I got to get that time back because those teams are sophisticated enough to take direction on good quality feedback. Whereas my immediate Brez team, there's a little bit more day-to-day strategy that's needed to be executed there. Sure. And so if you have good senior people, which we do on constant and structured, if I can give them like, hey, here's what I think the roadmap is, like, let me stay as close as I possibly can. It's not wrong. A 10-hour day is normal at this point, especially with a kid.
Yeah, of course.
So I think if I can get through this in before Q2, I think we'd be in a good spot.
Dude, it's crazy. I don't know how you do it all. It's
I think the
balancing act.
I don't think it sounds gnarly because you're focused on a little bit less things, but you're doing just as much.
Yeah.
So my thing might be spread out, but you're still doing just as much as I am.
Yeah, it's like intense focus on one specific thing. Well, we'll get into a few more things this year.
Good.
Get our hands dirty.
I hope so, dude. I think this year will be a renaissance of the OGs.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm excited, man. There's definitely some ideas that we have cooking that are just going to change a lot of our time into the business, which I'm looking forward to, because it's like the last year, man. It was like we took that vacation in January on that trip, and then after that, I locked down, dude. Like we didn't do anything all year. Like we took a couple trips to like Vegas and stuff, but it was like that's for like the acquisition.com workshops and stuff. Like, it's all work related stuff. Like any travel that I did this year was all work related. So 25, we're gonna slow it down a little bit.
I hope so.
Build with a little bit more purpose. You know, what do you don't even know what you're talking about for agency founders, but you're gonna do a panel.
Yeah, Eddie and we're gonna do a fireside on. I think it's gonna actually be on focusing on multiple things. This is what I brought up to him. I know we're gonna do the VIP day tomorrow. We're gonna talk through just a lot of questions around sales, a lot of questions around like what the team looks like at this certain size. So I'll definitely be more of like a sounding block and a bounce off. But then on stage, I believe it'll be me, Eddie, probably Ashton, and maybe Bert. Because we'll go in at
Canopy.
I think on our size. I think we'll still be one of the bigger ones in the space outside of Eddie. But I have a lot more to reflect on what is going wrong than I do on what is exactly going right. So I think that'll be interesting for people to hear.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I love about anytime that you come to like speak at our events. It's like, hey, here's where we're fucking up, type of thing. And it's like it's a breath of fresh air, because most people wouldn't admit that, you know, things are going poorly, or we had, you know, a little bit of a pivot year or something along those lines. And it's like, yeah, it's like that's hard to be able to admit in front of 50 people, and you know, you're going to be talking in front of 200 people this weekend, you know? So it's like people really look up to you. So I think it's a breath of fresh air hearing different perspectives, and it's not, grass isn't always greener on the big agency side of the world, you know?
No, and I don't think it will get that way unless this is the year of like really, really good service. I think there's a lot of people that were testing out agency, and they themselves didn't know if they wanted to do it, but they found a little bit of money in doing it. And I don't think those guys are built to last. And I think if you've been around for long enough, this would be the year where a lot of like the actual established brands will make their way out of these smaller ones and move up. Yeah. At least that's the bet I'm making.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the thing, is like any of these like service businesses, you know, it's like you burn the candle at both ends for a little while, but like there is a point where like you kind of get through the clearing and it gets easier.
Yes.
Right. And it's like, if you can get past that point, then I think growth and scale is on the other side. But a lot of people have a hard time getting through that because they're either not good practitioners or not good service delivery. On that side, they have a higher churn rate, and they really struggle with growth just because of those key functions of their business.
Dude, I'll end you with this one. It was like we closed Dollar Shave Club.
Really?
So
that's incredible.
To get that size of a brand through the door, they wouldn't have been impressed with like, oh, our team is 5 people. We're just going to work on yours. That's like a turnoff for them. They actually were like, we have the resources. Like, how big is your team? Who do I get to work with?
Right. Like how many people are going to be managing my account?
Yeah. They were like, we want you mid to large size, because we don't necessarily want to go to a place where like, are we your only client?
Yeah, we're going to sink you.
Yeah.
If we churn, or we're going to sink you if we come on board.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that you're finding your market of those that you can serve really, really well, that makes margin make sense. And everyone's like, I'm charging you for this specific reason and not going to be egregious. I think that's the like an OG way of approaching it, rather than going like, dude, I think we can get 30,000 out of this guy.
Yeah.
That's like that. And I hear those all the time. Oh my God. That's not the game. The game is like, what is going to allow you to be good enough to deliver a quality service to where they think the client is getting the best out of you or the most from you. Whereas you're like, no, we're getting enough to continue to build or at least hire around.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I know we're short on time. We got dinner reservations relatively soon. People know where to find you, but go ahead and shout out your shit.
Okay. I am Shackelford on Twitter, and then LinkedIn is I'm Nick Shackelford. A lot of my good content's being put on LinkedIn first, and Twitter kind of gets good stuff, but a little more controversial.
Okay, I like that. I like that. And then check out Brez as well.
Drinkbreeze.com. If you are listening and you want to try it out and you live in America, I have to disclaim that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I can get you the good stuff, but just shoot me a DM one of these places. I'll give you some of my special codes.
Ooh, I don't even have special codes, so you guys are getting the hookup. All right, guys, appreciate you listening today. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Bye, guys.